respects to the traditional owners of the land in which we meet, the Ngunnawal people, and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to welcome Assistant Minister Matt Thistlethwaite. He is from, he's also, his electorate is Kingsford, which is where I flew out of today. I'll fly back to tonight, so I know his area very well. He's Assistant Minister for Immigration and for Foreign Affairs and Trade. So please, I'd like to introduce
Thank you, Richard. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming along, and thanks to the Australia Latin America Business Council for the important work that you do in building business ties between Australia and Latin America. I'd like to acknowledge all of the ambassadors, particularly the Dean of the Ambassadorial Corps, Daniela P. Wonderful to have you here, and the respective nations that you represent. And thank you for the great job that you do in building diplomatic relations between our countries. I come from Maroubra, which is in Sydney. It's a beachside suburb. So I've grown up my whole life surfing. And what I've noticed in the last decade is all of these Latin American accents in the surf down in Maroubra that I'm now having to compete with for waves. And particularly the Brazilian and the Peruvian accents. And surfing is something that is part of Australian culture, but it's also very much part of Latin American culture as well. And interesting fact, the first ever World Surfing Championships were held in Peru. And they were won by a Peruvian who beat a very famous Australian surfer, Nat Young, in that final. So we not only share diplomatic relations and business links, but we've got this wonderful people-to-people culture, particularly built around the beach and surfing. It is so much a part of the relationship between our great continents. It's more than surfing, obviously. The business relationships are really, really important. And over recent decades, we've seen a lot of Australian businesses now setting up and operating in Latin American countries, particularly in the resources sector. And I want to acknowledge all of the companies that are here tonight from that important sector, and thank you for the contribution that you're making, not only here in Australia, but in countries throughout Latin America, in helping to diversify their industries and to generate incomes for those countries as well. But there's also quite a large number of Latin American companies that are establishing themselves in Australia and operating here. And I was pleased to learn about a company that was established called Cheeky Foods. It was established by a student who came to study in Australia from Latin America, got this idea around providing food from his homeland to the diaspora, and that business has now grown beyond expectations and is providing Latin American food and beverages to the 300,000 strong diaspora that now live in Australia. A great example of the business ties and the growing people-to-people links between Latin Americans and Australians, and they are only going to get stronger and stronger. With a lot of those Latin American countries, we share a great interest in free trade, and we have a lot of free trade agreements with Latin American countries, and we have a similar view of the world when it comes to trading relationships and upholding the international rules-based order. And it's been pleasing when I've been meeting with ambassadors from Latin American countries and indeed ministers from those countries. And I had a great meeting with the minister from Argentina last week about the importance of upholding that international rules-based order when it comes to trade. It's a system that is under threat, but it's a system worth fighting for. And we appreciate the cooperation and the similar view that Latin American nations have about upholding that international-based rules order. So our government looks forward to working with the governments of Latin America on projects such as that. We look forward to the great work that the Australian Latin American Business Chamber does in promoting those business ties between our two great nations. But most importantly, we look forward to strengthening the people-to-people links through the great work of your organisation and the people in this room. Thank you for all your hard work and thank you for having me tonight. Enjoy the rest of the evening.